Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. One of the side dishes that probably triggers the most competition that I've ever seen is stuffing. People love to argue about stuffing. Their stuffing's better than yours, your stuffing's better than theirs. It sets off all kinds of controversy, which is kind of fun in the cooking world. This is one of my favorite versions of stuffing. It's mushroom, garlic, and herb stuffing. It has all the good stuff in it. You're going to find celery, some sweet onion, and all of those other flavors all in one dish. I think you're really going to like this, and you might even win the stuffing competition this year. So come on, let's cook. So here are the ingredients we're going to use for our mushroom stuffing. First, we have 16 ounces of baby bella mushrooms, and you can use white mushrooms if that's all you can get. But the baby bella tend to have a little bit more of an earthy taste that I like. We're going to use 3 slices of white farmhouse bread, which is on the sweeter side, and 3 slices of a honey wheat, and those are toasted. Now, I'm not going to show you how to toast those. I'm going to trust that you can toast those on your own. So I've already toasted the bread we're going to use in the stuffing. We're also going to use 1 cup of chicken broth, and you can make a homemade chicken broth. I have a recipe on the website Step by Step Chef that will show you how to make that. Or you can use a store-bought brand, which is, sometimes it's just a little bit quicker. So I use it too. I'm not going to endorse a specific brand, but I will tell you that you need to shop around to find the chicken broth that has the flavor that you like. And this just happens to be the one that I find the most delicious, because some of them can be extremely flat. We're also going to use a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of ground black pepper, 2 celery stalks, a half a cup of sweet onion, 5 of these garlic cloves, which we're going to crush, 3 tablespoons of butter, a tablespoon of fresh rosemary, a tablespoon of fresh oregano, and a tablespoon of fresh parsley. And those are all going to be minced. Now, if you can't get the fresh herbs, then you can certainly use a dried Italian seasoning. But in that case, only use a teaspoon to start and see if you like the taste of it, because those herbs can be very potent. So let me show you how to put this together. So let's start by taking our baby bellas, and these have been rinsed to remove the dirt, the grit, the soil. They've been rinsed and dried lovingly. So they're really digging this dish. So all we're going to do with these is take them and cut them into 1/8 of an inch thick slices. That's all. Because when we saute these, they're going to cook down just fine. And we'll just put these into this bowl, this large bowl. And I'm going to do this for all of these. So for the sake of brevity, and I know you don't want to watch me do every one of these. Even though we are the step-by-step chef, we still count as the step-by-step chef. I'm going to give you a break, and I'll be right back after I have all of these chopped up. And here are our 2 celery stalks. I'm getting rid of this thick part. And then we're just going to slice them up the middle, because we don't want really huge pieces of celery in this stuffing. There we go. And then we're just going to cut it a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch thick. And for any of these ingredients, if you want more celery, more onion, even more mushroom if you want, certainly do that. Do it to your taste. Make it this way the first time, and then make any adjustments that meet your taste. Okay, we're just going to put this in our veggie bowl. Again, these are the vegetables that we're going to saute together. And now here comes our sweet onion. And if you can only get yellow onion, that's fine, or white onion, whatever onion you can get your hands on. I just find the sweet onion adds a very nice, unique taste to this dish. I'm just prone, as you've seen throughout the Step by Step Chef series, I am just really drawn to these sweet onions. Okay, so we have the onion skin all removed. And again, I don't want big pieces of sweet onion in this. So I'm scoring the top about 1/8 of an inch rows. And we want to end up with about 1/2 cup of sweet onion. And again, if you don't like sweet onion all that much, go cut it down to a quarter cup. And then I'm just going perpendicular and also doing these rows, these slices, to that 1/8 of an inch standard. It's going to give us some nice small pieces of onion that will flavor the stuffing without standing out. You don't want crunchy big pieces of onion. And now I'm just cutting down the face. And I just have a couple of pieces that got away from me. But you can see, that's nice and minced. Gives us a nice minced onion. I'm just getting some of the larger pieces that escaped us. And there's our 1/2 cup of onion. And that's going right into our saute bowl. And here we are with our food processor. And if you don't have a food processor, you can just mince everything that I am creating at this point. You can mince up your herbs. But these food processors are getting pretty inexpensive. And this one was under $20. So I suggest that if you can swing it, pick up a food processor. If you can't, you can certainly mince up these herbs. And you'd mince them up and put them in a separate bowl. But this is my food processor bowl. And I'm just taking the parsley first of all, taking it off of its stems, and putting it in the bowl. And then what I'm going to do in a moment is put the bread in with it, the toast in with it. And it all mixes up very nicely. Now I'm doing the oregano, which is just drag your fingers up the stem and then just snip off the tops. Let me show you that again. Drag your fingers like that, and it comes right off. And if you're working with the dried seasonings, we're going to break up the bread first, and you can add those after the bread is already in, after the toast is already in the food processor. My only concern, the reason why I do it in that order, is I don't want all of the herbs to just sit on the bottom as it's processing. And here's our rosemary. And sometimes the rosemary will just come right off the stalk if you pull this way. There we go, that's the way it's supposed to work. But this rosemary is very young. I grow it myself. It's very young, and it has a tendency to stick to the stem. So you might have to just work with it a little bit and just pick the rosemary leaves off. And now we have our bread. And all I'm going to do with the bread is just cut it down a little bit, because the food processor cannot handle enormous slices of bread. Not this one anyways. So you just want to cut it down and cube it. Cube the toast. Into these little pieces. And that will be so much easier for the food processor to handle. And you're going to have to do this a little bit in a batch form, because you can see I only added 3 of our 6 slices and it's full. So I'm going to take it over, run it for about a minute, and then we'll come back and pour that into this bowl, and then we'll do the same with the rest, and then we'll blend it with a spoon. So here's our food processor all loaded up. And we're just going to pulse it. And you can see it lifted up the herbs quite nicely. Now I'm going to do this, but I don't want the bread to turn into powder. I do not want it into that really fine thing. I want these little pieces for the stuffing. And on this food processor, I'm going between chop and grind. There we go. And let me show you what I mean. I don't want it all just to be dusted up. There we go. Want to make sure you could see it. Just those little pieces. And that's a perfect consistency for what we're trying to do. And I'm going to put this in a bowl. And then do the rest of the bread. And the last thing we'll do is crush, or mince if you don't have a crusher, our garlic into this bowl. And I'm doing this because it's going to go in a little later in the sauteing process, because the garlic tends to caramelize if it's in sauteing for too long. So it's a little bit more delicate. So I'm going to set this aside and add it later in the process. And like I said, if you don't have one of these crushers, just mince up that garlic really fine. Oops. Wow, that got away from me. Here we go. And as usual, if you don't like garlic, don't add it. Or you can add less. It's just totally up to you. I love garlic. And now I'll meet you over at the stove. And the skillet has been preheating over medium heat for about 3 minutes, so it's plenty hot. So we're going to take our 3 tablespoons of butter and just melt them down. And the butter's melted down to my approval. And now let's just put our veggies in and we'll saute them. And just give this a stir here and there. We're waiting for the mushrooms to cook down, brown, look a little bit translucent, and then we can add the breadcrumbs and the other ingredients. And this will take about 10 minutes. So 5 minutes into the sauteing process, you can see that the onions are cooking down nicely. The celery's getting a little bit translucent. The onions are doing great. So let's add our garlic now. And it will cook in this mix for the next 5 minutes. And stir that in really well. You know, you could actually take this after a few more minutes and serve this as a side. I mean, even without the stuffing aspect of it, it would be absolutely delicious. The aromas all of these ingredients are giving off are fantastic. So I'll see you in another 5 minutes. Okay, so here we are, 5 minutes later, 10 minutes of total cooking time to saute. The mushrooms, you can see, they've cooked down. The celery's turning translucent. The onions are almost non-existent, but boy, can you smell them in the delicious aroma. So now what we're going to do is stir in our herbed breadcrumbs. And you could see that the mushrooms themselves created a lot of liquid. So here's where it becomes an art form. I know I need to add some of the chicken broth, but the first thing I want to do is mix in the breadcrumbs with the mushrooms to make sure that the whole thing doesn't turn out too soggy. And what we'll do is we'll take our cup of broth, our cup of chicken broth, and we'll add just enough to where the stuffing is to the consistency that we like. And I can already tell this is not going to need that full cup of chicken broth. I think I'm looking at a half a cup. And I'm just going to drizzle it over the top. Now, extra for experts with this dish, if you want, what you can do is take this mix, put it in a glass or or metal, I guess metal's fine, baking dish, and put it in the oven for about 20 minutes at 350, and that'll make it just a little bit crispy. This has the consistency of a stovetop stuffing at this point. I mean, of course, not that the step-by-step chef would ever eat that. Okay, but anyways, so it has that consistency, but if you want it crispy, put it in the oven. Put it in at 350 for 20 minutes. But this actually has a very good consistency. I like it just like this. And if you like yours a little bit wetter, add a little bit more of the chicken broth. But this is to my liking, and I'm taking it off the stove, and it's ready to serve. So congratulations, look at what you just made. You just made this delicious mushroom stuffing with all of those great ingredients. Now, if you want a printable version of this recipe, please go to my website, stepbystepchef.com. There you're also going to find over 100 printable recipes and free video links, just like what you just watched, the step-by-step way. And I hope you will share it with everybody you know. Now, another option for you, if you don't want to print over 100 recipes, is to buy the book, Cooking with the Step-by-Step Chef. That's me. I hope you'll give the book a chance because it puts all of these great recipes in one place. You can still visit the website and see the free videos, which I hope you will, to help you along the way. But this is the perfect book for beginner cooks and experienced cooks who want to try something new. So my name's Larry Richardson. I am your step-by-step chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.